We need to factor this one, and this one looks very daunting. We need to take it step by step, and it won't be very bad. Okay, when I look at any of these, I've got two variables. Okay, so that makes it a little more complicated, and I've got, it's not a 1 up front, so that makes it even more complicated. The very first thing I do here is I look at all three of these and I say, is there anything I can take out that they all share in common? This one's got an x, and this one's got an x, but this one doesn't. And this one doesn't have a y either. I look at the numbers, 3, 24, and 48. 3 goes into all three of these. So the very first thing I'm going to do is take out a common factor. Okay, so I take out my 3, and notice that all of these went down because I took out my 3. So I need to be able to multiply this 3 back in and get my original quadratic here. So 3 times x squared gives me 3x squared. 3 times 8xy would give me 24xy. And 3 times 16y squared would give me 48y squared. Okay, well now that I have that, what I'm going to need to do now is to factor what's left inside of this parenthesis. Well, in order to factor what's left inside of here, because it has two variables, I'm going to do something that seems a little bit unconventional. I'm going to switch these two, the order of these two. This is in standard form. This is the way an answer should be written, but I'm not worried about the answer yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these out of order, okay? I'm going to move them, instead of alphabetical order, I'm just going to move the y in front. Okay, see how I have it highlighted here in red? That's going to make it easier when I go to factor this one. I need two numbers that multiply together to equal my c, and c in this case is going to be 16y squared. But it needs to add together to give me b. Well, b in this case, instead of just being the number, the 8, it's going to be the number and my y here. Okay, because x is associated here, this is actually 8y. I need two things that multiply together to give me 6y squared, but add together to give me 8y. So I go through and I list all of my two things that will multiply together to give me 16y squared. Negative 16y, negative y, 16y times y, negative 8y, and I list all of those. And I look at these and I say, okay, which one of these will add together to give me 8y? See, that will give me a negative 8y, so it has to be 4y times 4y. Okay, so those are my two factors. So now what I do is I just start writing these down. I know I have an x here, and my 3 is going to stay because that's part of my original one. I need to be able to multiply all these back and get my original one here. And I know it's going to be an x times an x. Well, I know now it's going to be a 4y here and a 4y here. Okay, well, if you look here, this is x plus 4y twice. So as a way to simplify it a little bit, we just write x plus 4y squared. The 3 is way out in front. The squared is not applying to that 3, so we don't have to worry about that. But the 3 is still a part of it because if I were to multiply all these back in together, I need to get my original one that I started with, okay? And so in order to do that, I've got to keep this 3. All right, so the big thing here is factor out your common factor first. After you've done that, then what we're going to do is two numbers that multiply together give you c, but add together give you b. And remember that b is an 8y, okay? This needs to be the same as this last one here. It'll make it really easy for you. Then you kind of just factor just like you've been doing all along.